we are very proud of him. Like, he was an IFE product. He made a first class, one of the earliest first class in his time, because IFE was not given first class. But he was able to make a first class degree. Then he went to Ibadan, where he did a master's degree. So it's a product of two of our best institutions. And then he went to Boston, so to collect a PhD. And from there, he rose very quickly. Within 8 years, he became a full professor, appointed a professor of history, a professor of anthropology, a professor of African American Studies. And he has served as a director of a major program, head of department, and is now the chancellor professor in his university, the ultimate you can become. He's still young. He has over 40 years ahead of him. To whom much is given, much is expected. We will keep praying for him to give us more. So come and give us more and give us take away, like Professor Herbert. What should we benefit from this event? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Falola. You're a great mentor to many of us, and may the Almighty continue to give you abundant strength and energy. I follow the protocols already established, and I want to thank Professor Oyeweso for organizing this event. Pardon my very shabby appearance. I'm actually doing archaeological fieldwork in the bush of Oyoile as we speak. And my students are somewhere, so I have to climb the hill to be able to join you so that I can have access to the internet. So I greet the KBSCs, I greet the scholars, I greet members of the public, the intellectuals, our venerable Archbishop Adigbolu. I greet you. Yoruba monarchy is one of the oldest institutions in the world, more than 1,200 years old. So what we are doing this morning or this afternoon is more than the individual. Baba Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III. He embodied and he embodies this more than 1,000-year institution throughout his life. And thanks to him, he did a lot to preserve it. And I hope that this tradition will last forever. My takeaway is going to be very brief because I don't know when the internet will go away from here. When we talk about Oyo history is more than the present Oyo town. I'm standing on the hill of Bara, the ancient Bara, which is presently in Kwara State. Let me just show you around. Maybe you can see this landscape right here. This is where we are walking. This used to be part of Yoruba land. Today, the Yoruba are in the minority. My major takeaway to many KBSCs who are sitting here, to many policymakers, is we are losing our heritage because we are not taking good care of it. We are losing memory because our historical sites are being given out to outsiders who have been very good to me. They allow us to stay among them and they don't give us any trouble because we are not here to cause trouble. We are working to preserve the heritage of Oyo, the heritage of the Yoruba people. I've met Baba many times during his life, and I send my publications to him. Oba Lamidi Adeyemi was a scholar. Actually, I should stop using the past tense. Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III is a scholar as well as an intellectual. He will read my materials on Oyo. I did not seek him out directly to talk to Baba when he was alive, but on few occasions that we had opportunity to talk, he gave me a lot of words of wisdom. Last year, I did an exhibition in Oyo town, which Baba Ladigbolu was there, on the archaeological excavations we are doing in Oyoile, in Bara, in Koso. These are important historical preserve the history, the oral traditions, the material culture of their communities. Our work in Eden, we hope one day we'll use those materials to set up a museum in Eden. The work we are doing here in Oyoile, in Koso, in Bara, we hope one day there will be space to establish museum in Oyo town. When you look at this landscape, our young people are saying they don't have jobs in Ibadan, in Oyo. These are places that we can use as historical sites. These are places that we can bring a tourists. We can create hundreds of jobs for people if we pay attention to these places, if we do the roads, if these places are reachable. More than 24 Alaafins were buried in this place. And I've never seen any official coming to this place to take care of it. What is happening is that people who have just moved in, non-Yoruba, I don't want to mention anybody's name, but they are coming to destroy these sites. We are basically working against time. In the next 5 years, this place will cease to exist. We are working against time. When we are talking about preserving the history of the Yoruba people, these kinds of places must be part of it. This is where Oyo Empire began. There will not be any Alaafin without Oyo Empire. This is where Shango lived. Koso is only about 14 kilometers from this place. This is Bara. As I said, more than 24 Alaafins were buried in this place. But it was more than a burial site. It is also a major town on its own, more than 2 kilometers across, 6.2 kilometers walls surrounding this place. This is the kind of heritage that we have. What can we do to preserve it? This is more than what the governors would do. This is not more than what the federal government would do. The federal government is not the owner of Yoruba heritage. Oyo state government, Kwara state government are more than are not the entire component of citizens, members of the public, and work with our scholars in order to preserve these sites. They can generate jobs for our young people who we can use as tour guides. We can write books on them, of course, but people who are interested in knowing these places. So, as I said at the 2018 conference in honor of Bara Lamidi, Adeyemi, we need heritage sites. We need to protect these sites. We need archaeologists working in these areas. We need public historians. We must include these kind of places in our curriculum from elementary school all the way to university level, so that our children can learn about these kinds of places. So if I have any takeaway, my takeaway is simple. Yes, let us create museums in our palaces, but our historical sites where our ancestors originated from must also be preserved. This is the landscape you are looking at. This used to be the core of Oyo Empire, but today it is desolate, it is abandoned, and only few of us and God are working to preserve this place. So again, I thank Professor Olayiwola for organizing this event, and I hope some of the ideas we're expressing here today will get to the right places, and it's going to be a call of action. We need to act. Do not let us just talk today and go back home. Some of us are right here in the bush doing this work. We are not asking for money to do our research. We are only asking for human resources to elevate what we are doing and take it to the places where we need them. Our children need to learn this history. We ourselves need it. When we talk about Shango, Shango, you can't talk about Shango without Kosto. You can't talk about Alaafin without Old Bara. I'm in Old Bara now, not the new Bara in Oyo. I'm in Old Bara. This is no Alaafin can become a king without coming to Bara. This is where his ancestors live. Their spirits are here. They are in these rocks. They are in this bush. They are in these streams, these valleys. These are the places that their ancestors originated from. And the fact that we are neglecting them speaks volume about our priorities. So my appeal to the policymakers, to our leaders sitting there today, is that let us work together to preserve these places for posterity. Otherwise, we're about to lose them to other people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ogundiran. As we were talking, I was moved to almost crying, because why would one of the most prominent civilizations in the world lose control of that kind of site and not keep it? It's a collective shame, and all of us, the scholars here, all the others here, we must see it as a collective shame and reach a resolution to do something about it. We cannot thank you enough. So your lecture and that of Professor Albert have spoken about the embodiment of cultures and how this embodiment of cultures can be used to strengthen our identity, our past, but as Professor Ogundiran also mentioned, as a process of creating a diversified economy. Thank you very much. We wish you the best in your research. And like your previous work, we expect